Hi guys, and welcome back to Movies That Matter with the Viking. And my first theatrical experience since the pandemic was it Tenet? No, it was New Mutants. Now, I was supposed to go see Tenet, and seemingly my cinema that I was going to had to pull it for some reason. I don't know why, don't ask me, but I was left with New Mutants, which I would have saw anyway. Now look, for me, Fox X-Men universe, I love it. I grew up. That's how I got into the comic book movie genre. It was the X-Men films, the early days, and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I really got into those, and I really followed the Fox X-Men franchise throughout the years. I always showed up, always watched the films, and always found something interesting in them. Yes, even Wolverine, X-Men Origins. Now, this film, The New Mutants, is the last installment into the Fox X-Men franchise. I thought it was going to, kinda Dark Phoenix was the last X-Men assembled cast of a Fox film, but this is the closing chapter on that property owned by Fox. Now, I was very sad when Disney purchased Fox. I really was, because I was a big fan. I liked the X-Men series. I liked the Logan, the Deadpool. I liked those. And then I thought if they went to Disney, we wouldn't get those different risk-taking films, because Marvel stick to a formula, which it works for them. But I always liked the Fox films because you never knew what you were going to get. It could have been R-rated. It could have been mad. It could have been bad. It could have been absolutely anything. I didn't think we were going to get films like Deadpool and like Logan, which Marvel, and I still have doubts over that, but let's see going forward. Now, The New Mutants, directed by Josh Boone, who also directed The Fault in Our Stars. Now, this film has gone through an unbelievable time trying to get released. They finished filming in September, I think, or October 2017. That's when a trailer came out. An unbelievable first trailer. It was supposed to come out in April 2018. It got delayed and it got delayed, and then the Fox-Disney merger delayed it even more, and then the pandemic got in the way. It's like this film was never supposed to be released, but finally it got to be released, and last weekend I got to see New Mutants. Now, for somebody who's kind of a fanboy per se for the Fox X-Men films, was I gonna like this? Probably, because I always found something interesting in all the films. But it was kind of an emotional one for me, because this was the last true X-Men film that we were going to get that wasn't going to be with Disney. Now, this follows a group of young children, teenagers with problems, mutant problems, and also personal problems and shit that they've gone through, and they're locked up in this prison per se. It's kind of this hospital that's supposed to make them better or make them realize what their powers is. Now, it stars Macy Williams, you know, from Game of Thrones, Anya Taylor-Joy, very talented. She was in Glass and Split. Henry Zaga. It also follows Blue Hunt, who is the main actress in this film, and Alice Braga is the doctor who is taking care of these 5 mutants in this hospital. But it's not really a hospital, it's more of a prison. Now, when the first trailer came out for this film, it had a lot of horror elements to it. We thought this was going to be the first real horror comic book movie of all time, and that's what had me interested, because something new brought to the comic book movie genre. There's no point in them all being the same. And this film does have horror elements, it really does. But what I feared for this film was that when Disney took over, they would make Josh Boone cut down maybe the violence, cut down the horror elements, not make it R-rated. I don't know if it was originally supposed to be R, but this is a PG-13 film, but it had elements there. But I don't know, just like there was rumours that Dark Phoenix was meddled with by Disney because it was similar to Captain Marvel, I think something might have happened to New Mutants also, even though Josh Boone says that it's his film. Now, they wanted to go back and do reshoots before as well, trying to add things and stuff like that, but they never got to do it. It's a relatively short film. I think it's only an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes, and it flies by quick enough. Now, what do I like about this film? These new mutants per se, to understand what their powers were. Nothing like we've seen in the X-Men universe before. I thought each of them had a very interesting trait, and it was cool, and it was cool to see when they used their powers. It was interesting and really stood to the film. Now, this film could have been longer. There's interesting characters, but their story, their backstory isn't explored enough. It's only touched at the surface. Like, you got Anya Taylor-Joy's character. She has a lot of shit that's going through her head, and these kind of demons haunt her. These kind of weird guys, these faceless guys with just mouths, and they are scary. But we never got to see more of that. Even Henry Zega's character, he can flame up. He can light his whole entire body in fire and stuff like that. He had a very interesting backstory that we didn't get to see enough of. So and even Macy Williams' character, not enough, only glimpses. And then Blue Hunt, we got to see a little bit of her, but that could have been explored. Their character development could have been explored a lot bit more if we got to see their backstory, and it would have made us care as an audience for these characters. At the end of the day, when we got to the final act, did we really care for these actors, for these characters, and what happened to them? Not really, not as much as we should have been. But that down to the character development and not knowing enough about these characters. Now, overall, there's no main villain of this. There really isn't. They have a few things they have to overcome, but there's no bad guy making things happen, which it did lack in some instances. But where that could have been not a problem whatsoever is if the horror was pushed a little bit more. It's supposed to be a horror film. I don't know if stuff were cut out of it or not, but there was some very, very scary enough moments, freaky moments, that could have been pushed a little bit more. It's like they were afraid to go that extra mile with the horror elements and make it actually a horror comic book movie and bring something new. It just didn't push it enough for me, and if it did, then we wouldn't be talking about the lack of a villain. Alice Braga's character is supposed to take care of these teenagers, to show them their abilities and to get them used to it, to come out into the open world. Now, I will say there's a connection with a previous Fox X-Men film that actually had me a little bit emotional. And I loved the way that they did it. And it shows to me that Fox had a lot of plans for the next generation of the X-Men universe. They had a lot of plans and they were setting up a lot of things, which has me excited, even though I know it's never going to happen now. It really is annoying. Like, you look at Daphne Keene's performance in Logan. She should have been the next Wolverine. That should have followed her journey. And then maybe it ties in with these new mutant characters in some instances, and that's the next X-Men. That's what could have been, and we're not going to get that, unfortunately. But it had interesting characters. I really liked the characters. The actors did a good job in the roles that they had, but they weren't given enough material, and the dialogue they were given at times was cheesy, and it just didn't suit them, and it was a bit awkward at times. Now, there is an LGBT element in this film, which is done very well, and is good to see also, because you don't really see that much in the comic book movie genre either. But what I will say is that Josh Boone, he took a risk. He said, I'm going to try horror. I'm going to bring this horror element into the comic book movie genre. I'm going to do something new. And even though he didn't go fully into it like he should have, in my opinion, he should have pushed it as hard as he could. Now, maybe that was a problem because of Fox. Maybe it was a problem because of Disney. I don't know. But I want to say, fair play for everyone involved trying something new, because at the end of the day, I did enjoy this film. Even though I say those things that could have been better, that could have been worked on a little bit more, overall, it had interesting characters. The action when it was done, even though this film has a budget of like 67 million, it looks like a high budget action film when it does the action, even though it doesn't do it enough. Now, the final act of this film is very, very good, and I was interested, and some of the effects are brilliant, but it didn't go on for long enough. It was too short, and then the film is over before you know it. So, at the end of the day, I didn't really care for these characters like I should have been. Even though I like the actors, I like the characters, I like the chemistry between the cast, but that's not their fault. That's the material that they were given. And their backstories and their powers were interesting and should have been explored a little bit more. And the horror elements, when used in this film, are very, very freaky, very, very, not very scary, but have you a little bit like, wow, look at this. Should have been pushed a little bit more. At the end of the day, it seems like a really missed opportunity, but for the final Fox franchise X-Men film, for me, is it good enough? Can I live with it? I can. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I'd watch it again. I might even go see it again, because it was worth the money, and it was interesting, and it was something that we've never seen before in the comic book movie genre. It wasn't repetitive. It wasn't copying anything else, which gets a thumbs up from me big time. 2 thumbs up for that, because so many of these films copy each other and try and do the same things and try and play safe. But what can you do? Guys, have you seen New Mutants? What did you think of it? Are you interested in seeing it at all? Let me know, because I was excited to see it and I came out happy enough. Not unbelievable hype, but happy enough. Guys, give a like, comment, subscribe. Come follow me on all the social media. Until next time, guys. New Mutants was okay. I liked it. I enjoyed it.